Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer Levy, currently a student at Biointegrated Design Masters at University College London. My research during this course focuses primarily on evaluating different drainage patterns on geometries and, subsequently, simulating rainwater on these, seeking to create inflatable textile field geometries capable of accumulating and redirecting rainwater. I started by analysing various drainage patterns present in nature as seen on aerial views such as the Yarlung Tangspur River in Tibet and river pathways in Norfolk, England. The recognition of different drainage patterns are catalogued into 10 basic illustrations, which imply a difference in geological formations, land surface materials, and water on each site. Of these natural drainage patterns, 6 patterns were selected to create a catalogue in which to model and then simulate water flows. To be able to model and simulate these various patterns, I first examined how to produce such work. Using Houdini, a 3D procedural software, I looked into using a tool called Vellum Solver, which is primarily used to generate soft bodies such as inflatables. By using an inflatable solver tool to simulate firstly an unconstrained inflatable body, I was able to learn and understand how to control the inflation parameters on diverse geometries. The different colours indicate the stress inflation to which the geometry is subjected to. Firstly, a basic square surface was modelled and then a dendritic drainage pattern was sketched and stitched to the surface. A dendritic drainage pattern is tree-like in form. The main streams correspond to the trunk of the tree and its tributaries resemble subdivided branches. It is the most common type of drainage pattern. The contorted drainage pattern type is a response to rock structure kind of pattern. For example, a stream flowing in one direction may be completely reversed in direction when encountering a resistant rock. Thirdly, a parallel type drainage pattern was embodied onto the square surface, producing a more relaxed, inflatable simulation. The stretch balloons appear less inflated and there is a higher stitch-free surface area, creating more blowing up balloon simulations. A radial drainage pattern was generated, commonly found in landscapes with height differences such as in mountains and volcanoes. In the following simulations, 2 of the patterns were selected for a water simulation test. In this case, the radial pattern was used. As you can observe, the water tends to accumulate inside of the creases, creating pockets of water accumulation. Lastly, a trellis drainage pattern was modelled. Trellis patterns develop mostly in folded rocks, where there is a series of parallel faults. Lastly, the trellis pattern was also submitted to a rainwater simulation. As you can see, since there were many inflation balloons on the trellis pattern model, the water tended to accumulate on top of the blown up surfaces. In the second part of my research, I decided to develop more complex surface geometries and my own pattern designs. The new patterns, as seen in the following simulation, were based on my previous drainage pattern investigation, but used the shortest path logic to generate a greater variety of design stitches. In the simulation that follows, the stress inflation parameters were evaluated, where the whites indicated the highest stress levels on the surface. Surface 1 was then evaluated through the same water simulation as before. Conclusively, the water accumulated further on the areas that had more stitches and that were less inflated. In the following simulation, the same surface 1 was used, but the design patterns were modified, where the stitches were longer and connected, to assess if the generated patterns could manipulate the water flows and create further water channels. As you can see in the simulation, the rainwater effectively runs further through the channels, thus setting the criteria for the next experiments. A second, more complex surface was modelled, with a higher depth difference between each side. The same criteria as the previous model were used, with longer and connected pattern channels. As observed, due to the larger cavities the surface 2 had, there was a higher water accumulation inside of the cavities. Conclusively, the criteria of accumulation and channeling of water due to the longer stitches and deeper cavities were later used for the virtual prototypes. Lastly, a final criteria was added to the previous one: gravity. Where the same surface as previously used was tilted in 30 degrees and then evaluated with a rainwater simulation, leading to a different conclusion, that although the stitched channels could help channel furthermore the water, ultimately gravity was more predominant. In the end, the previous experiments proved that the long pattern channelings, surface cavities, and the gravity influenced the water simulation. As observed, the water accumulates around the balloons and the cavities. Conclusively, the architectural applications of the past virtual prototypes can be used to create rainwater harnessing, recollection, and channeling through the use of a facade or a roof system. The textile field geometries could harness potentially biological materials inside, permitting the creation of a structure that is bioreceptive and capable of containing water, and at the same time lightweight and geometrically innovative.